and welcome back. Today we are doing a fun video. We are going to talk about all of my favourite things from the past month, the month of March. So of course I can't carry on without first mentioning the change of setup. If you didn't see it, about a week ago I uploaded a video sharing with you kind of my new room setup and of course my new bookshelf. So check that out if you haven't already, but that's the new situation and I hope you like it. I think it's kind of cute. So to start off the video properly, let's talk about my favourite decks of the month. Now the first I'll get out of the way quickly because it's been a constant favourite the last few months, and that is the Spacious Tarot by Carrie Mellon. Now the reason I've been using this deck so much I think is twofold. One is that I'm just genuinely really loving it. I love the colours, I love the simplicity of it. Like I said in my unboxing, I think there's just so much space allowed for our own interpretations and our own experience within the cards, and yet there's so much to go on with the imagery. I think it's a beautifully balanced deck and I'm just really having a lot of fun working with it. Additionally, it was the deck that I did my year ahead spread with, and I haven't done a year ahead spread in a few years. Normally I do like a different spread, which I've shared before. This year I decided to give the year ahead, the classic, you know, 1 card per month spread a go, and I used this deck. So obviously because this is the deck that I used, I'm kind of referring to it for that purpose quite a lot too. I think this first edition is nearly out of print. Last I checked on Carrie's Instagram, she said that there was some on their way to Little Red Tarot, but she herself was kind of running low on stock. They are planning on doing a second print run though with a few minor updates, including a correction of a typo on one of the cards. It's just a wonderful deck and the readings that I've done with it have been hugely useful and clear, and I've just enjoyed working with it. The next tarot deck I want to talk about is a deck that I love but haven't used a lot lately and certainly haven't spoken about in a little while, and it is the Textured Tarot by Mclaughlin. This deck came out in 2018, I think, and it's just stunning. I absolutely love all of these colors. They're kind of pastel, but there's still plenty of color happening, like pinks and yellows and greens and blues. Now I have to say this isn't the most talkative deck I own, but it is a deck I really enjoy working with, and certainly lately I think the reason I've felt really drawn to it is because of its softness, both literally in terms of these colors, these beautifully soft, delicate colors, but also in terms of its voice. For me, this deck reads pretty matter-of-factly, but it does so in quite a gentle way, which at the moment, with my anxiety quite high and what's going on in the world, I certainly appreciate. The name of this deck being the Textured Tarot, it's really the perfect name because in the imagery you can see that this isn't just a collage deck in terms of images cut out of a magazine. That's not what this deck is. There's parts of that for sure, but there's textures, literally, like fabric and materials, which give it like a warmth that I think that a deck with a similar sort of color palette and tone like the Fountain Tarot perhaps doesn't have as much of. So this deck has been exactly what I need at the moment, and I'm really glad I've pulled it out again. I've missed it. And now for the Oracle deck. This is also by Mclaughlin, and me pulling out this deck is actually what inspired me to pull out the Textured Tarot again. It's the Life Design cards, and this is one of my favorite Oracle decks of all time. Now, from what I understand, this deck is unavailable at the moment, but Lisa is in the process or just finished kind of recreating the images for these cards because she intends to reprint it, but it's going to look a little bit different. So this deck is phenomenal. It's unlike any Oracle deck I've ever used before. It's really unique, both in terms of its perspective, its approach, but also just in terms of like these keywords that we see, these titles on these cards. They're not the usual, you know, like happiness, shadow, trust, whatever, all of those sort of like classic keywords we see in a lot of Oracle decks. This is really unusual and I love it. The deck has a lot of influences, including permaculture, seasons, and astrology. And there are sort of suits, for lack of a better word, in this deck, but I don't usually use it in that way. Sometimes I do, but a lot of the time I just pull a card. And for me, this deck is so directive and specific. I like pulling one card from this deck for like, what can I do today? And it will give me a very direct practical thing I can focus on. And for me, that's exactly what I need right now. It's kind of something to focus on, like an intention to set for the day. And I just love that. I absolutely love it. I think it's a fabulous deck. It is one of my favorite Oracle decks of all time. It's up there with Laura Bowen's decks for me. That's how much I like it. And I'm just really enjoying spending a bit more time with it at the moment. So those are the decks for the month of March that I've been playing with. And honestly, they've been really, really helpful. I think I've had to be quite careful about what sort of questions I'm asking. I think the fact that I have generalized anxiety disorder, the fact that the world's a bit scary at the moment, I definitely am among the people who have the tendency to get a bit imaginative, catastrophizing, that sort of stuff. So I've had to be very intentional about what I'm asking from the cards, because I'm a big believer of don't ask what you don't want to know, or just be conscious of what will actually be helpful for you. And so for me, it's been really important to kind of keep myself in check with how much I'm using tarot and for what reasons. For me, that very much means using it specifically on small everyday things like my Doing Well, Do Better spread, or using the life design cards for little actions I can do for the day. Things like that. I suppose focusing on what's within my control rather than the big, scary, wide world out there. Now let's get on to books. And if you watched my recent vlog, you will know that the majority of what I've been reading lately is manga. A big part of that is because I've always wanted to get into manga, but I suppose the reason that it's happened now is in large part because my anxiety has been quite high. I've been struggling to concentrate on reading. And so other than some reading that I kind of like have to do, I've done almost no kind of reading of a proper book for enjoyment. And manga has really been kind of filling that hole for me. I think with the imagery and the fact that there's fewer words on the page, right? But there's more to engage with in terms of that imagery, helps me kind of keep my concentration and interest levels up, and just the opportunity to engage in a really amazing story and so many different stories in a way that doesn't require me to sit down and read, you know, kind of like dense words on a page after page. I don't know, I'm just finding that a really happy balance of maybe I can't sit down and read 200, 300, 400, 500 page books at the moment, but I can still enjoy consuming some books and the act of reading. And so if you watch that vlog, you will know quite a few of these favorites that I'm going to mention, but there is one addition that I've really enjoyed since that vlog. So the first manga that I really got into in that vlog was Fullmetal Alchemist. I have read up to volume 9, and I did manage to score the entire box set because there's 27 volumes in this series, which is quite a lot for me personally anyway. Essentially, we follow two brothers who are alchemists, and they broke one of the cardinal rules of alchemy by trying to basically resurrect their mother from the grave. And in doing so, they both ended up quite damaged. One lost his arm and his leg, the other lost his body entirely, and so his soul has been attached to a suit of armor. And what they're trying to do is find a way to regain their bodies, their original bodies. But of course, along the way, they encounter bad guys and good guys, and sometimes we don't know which is which or who is who. So it's a really fun tale, and I'm just really enjoying it. Next was Goodnight Punpun by Ennio Asano. I really liked this first volume. I have read the second one as well now, and I have to say I was pretty confident that it was going to take a darker turn, and it certainly has already. Whilst there were a number of occasions where I literally laughed out loud in this first volume, there were not as many opportunities for me to be belly laughing in the second volume. I will say, despite the look of our main character Punpun, it is a really human story in the most kind of real, raw way. All of these characters are really flawed. If anything, it feels a bit of like a little bit of a pessimistic view on humanity, to be honest, so far. As I said in my vlog too, Ennio Asano's work, like in terms of the art, is really beautiful. It's a lot more realistic and expressive than a lot of the other art in the other manga that I've been reading. And it's just, I don't know, it just feels different. It feels a lot more grown up than a lot of the other manga I'm reading, I suppose. And I really like it. The other series I'm really enjoying is Children of the Whales. I have read up to volume 5, and I have more coming in the mail, hopefully arriving tomorrow. These covers are just stunning, and the artwork in this series is really beautiful. I think what I said in the vlog pretty much holds true still, even though I've read a few more volumes. Basically, I'm not that enthralled with the characters. I'm not really that invested in the individual characters' development. I'm more invested in the people of the mud whale, their story, their history, the mystery of who they are and why they are where they are. I have questions that I want answered, like why the marked die young, for example. So I'm invested in that story, and also the world building in this is really beautiful and interesting. Next is a fun one, and I've only read one volume. I have the rest coming again in the mail, hopefully very soon, is Skullface Bookseller Honda-san. This is such a fun little book. Now, I am a bookseller. I work in a bookshop. Obviously, I'm stood down for at least until the end of April. But this is just so funny. Basically, Honda-san is Skullface. He works in a bookshop selling manga. He works in the manga section department. And each kind of little chapter is kind of like a thing that booksellers go through. Some of them I don't relate to as much because, you know, my shop sells esoteric, spirituality, religious stuff, not manga, although that could be fun. So some of it is more specific to manga sellers, but just exploring kind of like stereotypical customers and just like things that as a bookseller, like I have experienced too, like certain interactions with customers or whatever. It's just really, really, really funny. And so I found myself kind of taking photos of a few of the pages and like sending them to my work friends and being like, this is so us, or this is so you, or oh my God, remember that time, you know? So it definitely feels really realistic from a bookseller's point of view. So if you've ever wanted to know what it's like to be a bookseller, certainly a lot of this is exaggerated, but this is kind of like the exaggerated, funny account of what it is like to be a bookseller, and it's really fun. And I think what I like so much about this is the balance that it finds between, you know, like the reality of difficult customers or difficult bosses or whatever, and like the comical side of that. But it's still very real, but it balances that with the fact that Honda also really, really loves his job, and so do I. The example about someone asking for a recommendation for a manga definitely hit home, and how Honda kind of panics. Because the funny thing is, when somebody asks for a book recommendation and they are very vague, most of the time they're not literally asking you to tell them what your favorite book is and they're going to buy that. Most of the time they sort of are looking for something, or they sort of have a feeling about what they want, they just don't know how to express that, or they don't have a really strong awareness of what that is. Rather than just like recommending your favorite thing, what you actually have to do is like dig deep and like question them on everything and try and work it out what it is that they actually want from you, which is really different from, do you have any recommendations? And it's actually quite a difficult, stressful request. So I love how that is tackled in this manga, and it had me laughing in stitches. So next I want to talk about content, and first I want to talk about me and my content, and then I will share with you some content from other creators that I'm really enjoying at the moment. So firstly, I wanted to just say that something I'm really enjoying is that the TS Bookshop, the bookshop that I work at here in Melbourne, is being really amazing at the moment, in the fact that most of us are casuals, and they've stood us down until the end of April, but paying us the usual amount that we earn each week, which I think is incredible. And they made that decision very early on, a couple of weeks ago. So I just think as a casual worker, as a retail worker, I think the fact that our organisation has chosen to support its casual workers in that way is amazing. We are still taking online orders, and my manager is going into the shop every Tuesday to process those and post them out. So if you're in Australia or you're in Melbourne and you want some tarot decks or some cool books or whatever, and you want to support a kind of smaller bookshop in Melbourne that is supporting their workers, then I'll leave a link below to our website, because I just think it's amazing that they're doing that. The other thing that's kind of cool that's happening is on our Instagram, each of us is sharing a book that we're reading every week. So my day is Friday, so every Friday I'll be sharing a little Instagram post of a book that we stock at the shop that I've enjoyed or am reading and enjoying. And so there's 6 different staff members that are doing that. We're doing that every day except Sunday. And everybody that I work with has such varied interests. So we have some that are really into Buddhism, others that are more into like vegan cooking books, others that are more into the more esoteric theosophy side of stuff. Big range. Then there's me, who's like the pagan tarot person. So it's just really fun kind of getting such a variety of recommendations, and I think that's a really cool thing for us to do and engage in while the shop is closed. So if you want to keep up with stuff I'm reading and get recommendations from other people who are really engaged and interested in certain topics under the esoteric umbrella, then I'll leave a link below to our Instagram that you can check out. I haven't been asked to talk about the bookshop. This is not, I just am really happy that they're supporting us, and I love my job and I love my shop, so I want to share it with you guys. Okay, now on to other people's content that I'm really digging. 3 of these are book/manga YouTube people. So again, I know that's not necessarily what you're all here for, but these are the channels I've been watching and loving lately. The first is Ashley from Ashley Outpaged. I love her channel. She's definitely a booktuber who reads a lot of manga. So she has manga videos, but they're not just manga videos. And she also does kind of like fashion vlog style videos. And there's just something about her personality that is just so likable. I cannot get enough of her. I've been binging her like crazy. She's also got like that aesthetic down, but I just think she's really, really fun and really sweet and really cute, and I love hearing her talk about books because she doesn't take herself too seriously. She doesn't take what she reads too seriously. Clearly she loves it, but she's not one of those booktubers who can read like 50 books a month or whatever, you know what I mean? Also gotten a lot of really good manga recommendations from her channel too, so thank you for that, Ashley. Another booktuber I really, really like is someone who reads a ridiculous amount, which is amazing. Good for her. I'm never going to keep up, but I just really like her and she's really engaging. Her name is Mara and her channel is Books Like Woe. And I especially liked a vlog she did about, it was just a reading vlog, but she spoke about how she manages to read as much as she does and kind of what thought processes she goes through when choosing what to read and when. And so even though I don't have the intention of reading as much and as many books as she does, because it's like obscene how much she can read, I did find that very interesting, and it gave me some food for thought of how I can incorporate reading more into my life, you know, when I want to. Another channel is Mama Loves Manga, and this is just a straight up manga channel pretty much, and she is just really funny and really engaging and really real. I love the series on her channel, Sit Down and Read Your Manga, I think it's called, where she kind of just does exactly that and kind of vlogs sort of, I suppose, you know, a set period of time in which she reads manga that's on her shelf that she's been wanting to read, and then kind of does mini reviews as she goes. I think those videos are really good. So those are my favorites for the month of March, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Of course, we have to say a big thank you to the people who are sponsoring this video, which is everybody over on my Patreon page. Thank you so much for your support. Especially a big extra special thank you goes to Tracy Timmerman, Laurie, Lynette Brown, The Hales K, and Biffy Rose. Thank you all so, so much. So thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope this has given you a bit of a chill out distraction from the crazy world. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all taking care. And I will talk to you again very soon. So much love. Bye.